Hey, how's it going? I wanted to talk about this movie I just watched. It's called Train Dreams, and it came out this year. It's like a Netflix movie, or it's not like a Netflix movie, it's a Netflix production. And so, come on. It stars Joel Edgerton, Felicity Jones, Will Patton, Carrie Condon, William H. Macy. There's other actors on here that look familiar, and I have their names, but I'm just going to go with what looks familiar to me instead of trying to please everyone else's who they know, because I don't know who you know. Anyway, so it's not my normal sort of taste in movies that I think a viewer, like someone that would see me on here or someone that might see me on other social media platforms might think this is not my type of movie because it's not sci-fi or some kind of law enforcement situation. Shoulder. All it did was move my arm a little bit. It's so amazing. So anyway, the thing about, so it's not like my normal fare, but that's not true because it is. I just don't talk about these other kinds of movies. Like, I don't talk about the sort of housewife stuff I watch because none of your business. It's corny. But anyway, this movie, Train Dreams, though, I didn't really know what it was about. I didn't research it too much because I saw the Egerton name and I thought, okay, well, he hasn't disappointed me yet. None of those guys have, because there's some brothers of Joel that also are in the same industry. So anyway, I just thought, what the heck, you know how they give you, I don't know if you have Netflix or not, but they will have like things that are coming and they'll send you a notification asking, do you want to add it to your list? So I had added it because this is not my favorite time of year for entertainment selections. It's better. I mean, this time I'm ready. I have a bunch of stuff saved that I just haven't looked at yet because I knew that this time was coming. The holiday season here, it stinks. Like, I don't begrudge anyone parades and specials and things like that, but do you have to make it the only programming? Like, how about the people that just don't really care about those things? Or, you know, football, no, thank you. I'm not a fan. I mean, it's whatever, but it's not my thing. So it just leaves, like, not much for me to look at. And when you're trying to get away from, like, looking at so much politics and just constant talk about politicians, and I'm just going to leave it at that for God's sake, I just am really wanting to, like, lighten up. I feel like an air balloon, and I just want to start throwing stuff overboard so that I can lift and not be weighted down. Oh my goodness. Okay. See, the thing about pain is it's supposed to be telling you something, but what it's telling me is you wore this thing out, don't move, but I have to use my arm. I wasn't even using it. I moved a different part of my body. So, there's a way to deal with pain, like, mentally, and as a probably not brief aside, let me just say that I have had to deal with pain a lot since, like, 1990, because that was when I developed brain tumors, and it took a while for them to affect me enough to start seeing a doctor. And, well, that was because I was becoming paralyzed. Like, just gradually. First it started with really bad headaches. And, over the course of a year, I became fully paralyzed on my left side, but I didn't have a stroke or anything like that. I have a disease, and then I got it a different way from everyone else. Like, usually it's an upper respiratory thing. I got it in my brain, so thanks. Thanks for the exciting adventure. But my point is, I lived in LA at the time when I got sick, which is where I'm originally from. And then I moved to Washington State, which is where I am now. And when I transferred doctors, because you end up seeing some pretty serious series of doctors when you have multiple brain tumors, which is what the problem turned out to be. I mean, the disease caused, the tumors are a symptom. So anyway, I moved here, and the first visit with my oncologist, he says, "What's your pain medication?" And I said, "I'm not on any pain medication." And I'm looking at his degree. Well, he's got several, but one of them is from UCLA or USC, which I don't know if you know this, but that's in LA. So I was like, did he not work in LA? How does he not know? They don't give you, you know, when they'll give you like pain medication in LA, and I think this is still the case. You got to have a compound fracture, which is like a broken bone that like is sticking out of the outside. It's on the outside of you now, or like something like catastrophic. They do not want to give you any drugs. So fast forward, or reverse as well, I move here, and at that first visit, when I tell him I'm not on any pain medication, he says, "Oh my God," and whips out the prescription pad, and I'm going, I have never seen such a thing. Like, seriously. I gotta say, like, that was a lifesaver. I dealt with pain for so long, and I've since weaned myself off the pain medication. But the point is, before I had pain medication, on the rare occasions that I could go buy something off the street or find someone kind enough to give me their leftover pain pills from the dentist, I was just screwed. And I don't know, I don't think I can explain what it's like to have 4 objects in your brain along with all of the other stuff that's supposed to be there. It's kind of a crowding situation. So I had really bad headaches, and I had no parents left, and only one of them could have been any help anyway, but they were both gone. And it was like, when I couldn't work, then it was just kind of like, wow, I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I eventually figured it out, but most of the time, I was just in pain. And then there were other things going on with the other parts of my body that were not my brain, that I still do not know what that pain was all about. Like, just for no reason. Like, I would have thought it was like drug withdrawal, some of the stuff that I was feeling from descriptions I've heard of it, except I didn't take enough drugs to get addicted to anything. Like, I didn't have like a continuous supply. Which brings me back to my point, is you learn how to live with pain, you know, like you just, when you have no other choice, you have no other choice. And I still, for a while, had to work, and unfortunately, it was a service industry job, so I had to be, like, pleasant and stuff for other people when I'm over here, like, I might be dying. Back to the point, though. You can learn to sort your pain out within yourself. I'm not sure how else to describe the process. And the reason why I bring it up is because in this movie, the star, which is Egerton, like, what's his name in here? Let's see. Uno momento. In fact, hold on. I'll pause you. Okay, God, I wish they wouldn't put that so close to the stop button. Okay, so the character's name was Robert Grenier. Grenier? Grenier, and he, oh God, I can't. God, I hate. Excuse me. For some reason, my debit card doesn't want to work the way it has been, and it's not wanting to pay my bills, and there's money on it. So it's irritating because that means I have to go buy a money card to pay my bills. So my money is costing me money. Ever since this government took over, things are just dandy. If you like things all fucked up. Anyway, stop interrupting me. And that too, it gets to my eventual point, if I can ever get there, is the guy is born and he has to grow up in foster care, and then he's aged out, and it's just like life is not going out of its way to do him any favors. Oh my God. Well, you go to the other, they'll figure it out. And he is not, life's not doing him any favors. Like, it's hard, and it's at a hard period. I believe he was born, they said, in the mid 1900s, so like 1910, I think, 1914 or something like that. So irritating. And the thing that really made an impression on me, and I already know this about that time period, like I have studied a little bit of history. It was, in contrast to today, there were not a lot of amenities that made your life easier, or in some cases harder, like the internet, because the internet is like, it gives, but the hand is a blade. So when you go to grab what it's giving, you get cut. Like, it's just, like, for all of the help it gives you, it hurts you as well. And I don't think anyone would disagree with me on that. And it's not the internet, it's us. It's the way we use it and abuse it, and by extension, each other. And so that causes a lot of, mental problems, dissonance, and abuse. And so in that time of the movie, there's like trains and stuff and cars, I guess, eventually. Or, no, I'm not. See, I didn't go back and do a whole deep dive. Like, maybe there were cars in 1910. There were definitely cars before that, but were they in mass production is what I mean. So, even if they were, the roads were not clogged like today. In fact, the roads of today didn't exist then, many of them. And so, what's happened with, like, everybody getting a car, or so many people having a car, or so many people needing to drive or be driven places, have their stuff trucked around. Even if it's a train, what I'm getting at is it creates pollution. And so that was not a problem back then, or at least it hadn't, it was past the Industrial Revolution, which I would say kicked the whole pollution thing off, but not as bad as we have it now. And so he lived in a home that he built with his hands, with the woman that he met and eventually fell in love with, or she actually kicked things off. Don't tell more. Oh, sorry. Please look at my signs. I will do my best not to spoil stuff because this is so new. I will take that precaution. Normally, I won't, but hold on. So, anyway, he builds his home from like logs he fells himself, and that is something that not many of us know how to do anymore, or sew for that matter. And that was the time when you would find a whole lot more people that did do those things, probably because they had to, but the way we have it now, no one needs to really know how to sew very much. Like, maybe you can sew up a hole in something like a seam, re-sew a seam, but I think very few of us know what darning a sock involves. Not that it's too complicated, but you do have to know how to do it. And so we've lost a lot of vital skills like that, and I was not happy with the direction things have been going, where everything's electronic, and landlines have almost been eliminated, I feel like. But when you make everything electronic and your system that runs it fails, which we know that one in Texas, the electrical grid in Texas is terrible, not maintained well at all. The other nationwide grid is also in disrepair, according to reporting, or it just hasn't been maintained and upgraded the way it should have been, considering the ever-increasing use that it's expected to support. Why? Like, we're so smart, we got all of the modern things and all of the geniuses, but nobody thinks to take care of the stuff that the genius crap needs to be run on. And do we have enough water? Are we using the resources of water everywhere efficiently so that we can maintain the stupid electronic standard, which, those places have cascade effects. Like, when things fail, they fail in a cascade. It's like a domino effect. And like I said, I don't think any of our grids are ready to support what all we're about to put on it with all the data centers and crap. So I've just been aware of that technological stuff, and watching the movie just sort of brought it into a more stark focus, because I've always, for some reason, been like a prepper. It's like when that came along, it was like, oh, that's nothing new. I've been that way forever. But I have always lived in a city. Like, I was born in Los Angeles. Like, you have to drive out of town for the most part to see anything remotely resembling campgrounds. Like conifers and deciduous, like pine trees and stuff, like forest crap. So I don't know why. I guess because I didn't have it available was what made me want it so much. But from an early age, my reading was focused a lot on like forest craft and stories of like living off the land. And why did I need that? You might ask, why do I need it now? Well, maybe in the instance of the grid going down, especially if you're in the city, you better learn how to eat something that you don't have to dive into a dumpster for, because it can be done, not easily. And then, if you're in the forest, that's a whole other set of standards or rules that you got going on. Like you don't have modern conveniences in the forest. You might have a public rest area, a restroom, and it ain't fancy. It's like concrete, and the mirror is made out of metal, and people have defaced it because we're stupid. And then you can see out of a metal mirror good anyway. I'm saying it's primitive. So when you have a situation where you're like out in the woods, you gotta like be able to make fire. Well, what if it rains? You still need fire. So you need to know how to make a fire even if it's raining. And you won't necessarily be walking around with a waterproof container of stuff to make a fire with. Like, literally, you have to learn how to live off the land, and that doesn't just mean finding something to eat, although that's important. But then, again, it's not a supermarket, so if you want to eat some meat, you gotta go find an animal and kill it and take it apart and do all of the things. So if you don't know how to do that at all, you're gonna have a daunting day. So for some reason, I've just, like, educated myself in those things. And I don't, like, even if things shut down, we can probably put it back together eventually. But eventually is the thing, though. And then, I don't know, I just feel like it's good to know some of the things that you will still need to have and do if there's no power to have them or do them. Like, if you have a refrigerator full of food that you just bought and the power goes off for question mark amount of time, what do you do with all of the food that is going to go bad? Like, it's going to go bad. Were you prepared to have ice? No. Will the store have ice? No, they don't have power either. So you better figure out what to do with that food. If there's anything that can be done with it, you know what I'm saying? Like pickle it real quick or something. You don't have a lot of choices. So you better know how to do that even. You better have stuff around that you can do it. Can you make a fire? Like, can you have light? You can have candles, yes, but how long is the store going to have candles if everybody is going to need candles? Do you see where I'm going with this? You're going to have to do stuff during the day and sleep as soon as it gets dark, because if you don't have something to light on fire so you can see, you're going to be sitting in the dark. Might as well sleep. And I know this from, like, reading and from history and, like, looking up ways to keep your place warm without spending a bunch of money and installing stuff. And it just seems like, I don't know, good things to know. Like, seems like it might come in handy sometime. And the reason why I'm talking about that is because at the end of the movie, they talk about how this guy, even as time went on and modernity happened, this dude was hanging out in his house with, like, no power, no generator, I don't think, and no phone. He didn't have a phone. One of the last scenes was he doesn't go to a movie. He goes to a, like, carnival show or, like, a freak show, and was so fascinated and so appreciative of everything. Like, this is, like, he went into town on, like, a jaunt for something. Like, there was a reason, but he was just kind of, like, taking everything in and giving himself a good time. He went for a plane ride, and that's pretty outgoing for somebody who, like, didn't have a phone. I don't think he even really knew how to use one too well or whatever, because why would he? He's out there on his plot of land in his cabin that doesn't have you can't even hook up a phone then. There were no cell phones. You see what I'm saying? So whatever you did, it took a long time. You had to have patience and deliberation, and you also had to get it done. Otherwise, you went without. So we don't know that anymore, do we? Like, can you imagine? There's the stuff that you want and need runs out, and you don't even have a clue of how to replace it, how to fix it. Not saying that people are not smart and don't have ingenuity. I don't know what people could come up with. I don't know what other people know. I'm just thinking, it doesn't seem like most people think about the things that we didn't have before, or the times before when we didn't have things, and remember that life went on and people were probably happier. We were still terrible people. We still had the Klan and, whatever like that, and wars, but we didn't have social media also screwing with our minds. And so, and then, that movie was really calming, especially in the current times. Like here in the United States, we're just going bonkers, our leadership, not necessarily the citizens. I mean, if I had any control over what my government is doing right now, I'd say, you must stop that now, and you law enforcement guys, go put these guys in jail forever. Like, they broke the law. Why is everybody in a trance? It's just something we all gotta go through for each other. But I really value quiet time, solo time, or even time spent quietly with someone when you're doing something, just like in companionship. You're just like in this, like the same room together, and that's good. That's fine. Like, it's plenty enough. But nothing that plugs into a socket, you know what I'm saying? And it's a whole vibe. It's a whole other vibe than how we usually live. I am of the opinion that we should, go back to those ways, and without a shock would be good. Like, without us being forced to, like, without it being an emergency necessity, But that's up to each of us. Like, I can wish it all I want. It doesn't mean that what I want for someone else is gonna come to be. Good grief. Hey kids, don't have arms when you grow up. Don't have shoulders. Okay. So, the other thing about how simple this guy's life was, I mean, the times were simpler, and then it was simpler still because he was about as removed as you could be from civilization. I mean, my God, the man built his own house with his hands himself and designed it and all of that stuff. And then the wife did the wifely things by hand. Like, she probably had a sewing machine, but of course they didn't focus on her much. It wasn't her story until... It was part of her story until her part of the story was over. It was really about this guy going through a pretty hard life for most people, you would think, and a pretty sad one for most people. But this just wasn't that guy. He wasn't like, woe is me. He was like, wow, this is my life. I mean, if he thought about it, it's not like they even showed it that much, that part. But you could tell, like, there was like narration that it wasn't him, it was someone else telling the story, but it was concurrent with what was happening to the guy, and so it was almost like it was the guy thinking. And so you could see how he grasped, like, well, my life is this way and it's different from everyone else's, but he didn't, like I said, he didn't cry about it all the time. He just got on with his life and found his interests and his joys when he found them and was grateful. And it was just a refreshing take on a human being, you know? Like, he didn't have a whole lot. He didn't have much at all, but what he did have, he made the most of and was so happy for. And I was gonna say I want to do that. I do that because I am, I'm in a position where I'm very grateful for whatever I have, because in a moment it can just all be gone. Like, it really is all just leased. Like, I don't really own anything. And then, like, if our fantabulous government gets the whim to, if they decided they really wanted to mess me up, all they'd have to do is just discontinue every service that I depend on, which is all of them for everything. And so I think about that, and I think about having to live outside, and I think, good thing I thought of all that prepper stuff, and I was so interested in it, just in case. But the main thing is, regardless of what I would have, what I would need is to keep my head about me. And the less you have, the simpler your life is, I think. So there were some other things that I was watching leading up to when I decided I was going to be talking about this. And they were to do with, like, also stuff that's, like, happening in my government and world right now. Like, the global world. And it's like, all of the terrible stuff that is done to people and is kept from people, and the connections and connected people maintaining the secrecy, and the continuation of the harm on unsuspecting people. And some of it's right out there in the open where we can see it. A ton of it is not. So much more of it is not. We can be so easily deluded, and we don't even understand. Like, we think we know, and we're always telling each other, yelling at each other to wake up, wake up. And I had a thought a couple of years ago, and it was like, yeah, I didn't wake up until I realized there was something to wake up to. And I didn't realize how profound that was, because as much as we know there's illusion and delusions perpetrated upon people by our leaders, for sure, by our rich people, kind of that group hand in hand. So that's disappointing. It's disappointing because they do it to you. It's disappointing because they maintain it. Even when they know people know and they don't care, and there's like a imbalance in our system that I think is currently being recalibrated right now. I think that's what all of the disruption is about. So when we become more and more aware of what has been perpetrated against us, we're going to be, at the very least, very surprised how much wool got pulled over our eyes so easily. But you know, here's another thing that I have been saying for a while. And coincidentally, I've been seeing more and more of that stuff being revealed, or I don't know if it's a coincidence or not. Like, it was just bound to happen finally. But we have all of these things that are being hidden from us, and some of them are just abjectly terrible, like the worst thing you can imagine, plus, plus, plus. And mainly for the reasons of keeping certain people maintaining a standard of living and maintaining a standard of hierarchy. And it's not gonna, like, that time is ending, because people now want to wake up on their own. They're starting to get an inkling of, like, wait a minute, this is messed up and wrong. And some people needed more than an inkling. They needed the clubbing over the head that we're happening right now. Hey, however it works, like, there's a lot of us to get to a point of consensus. Like, I don't think we even conceive of how many that is. I mean, I could tell you a number, I could say a lot. Think of voting. Think of those kinds of numbers. More. You need more than those numbers for people to wake up. Like, seriously. So, it's political, it's in the food, it's chemicals, it's how they're ruining the environment, and how that in turn ruins the food and the water, and the medicines that are not... Medicine is upside down and backwards. Like, RFK is kind of nutty, but he's not wrong about, like, medicine being hinky in a lot of ways. And you will hear and have heard a lot of stuff from, like, QAnon or something, and you think, my God, that is crazy and ridiculous. But I can just tell you that things that are happening right now that look really bad, and the people doing it look really bad, from a different perspective, are doing things that are going to be really good overall for more people than the other side of it makes it appear to be. And I know that sounds crazy, and no, I can't cite you anything more than the white hats. You search that and you'll find, probably more information than I'm saying right now about the matter, but we shouldn't despair anyway here in the United States about any of that stuff, because bottom line, remember, we're here, and then we're here and we're living these lives, and it's not all a tragedy and a disaster. I mean, it is, but we're here for it. Like, the scenario exists, and in a long time ago, in a land far, far away, we signed on to come here and be a part over the years, up to the present and into the future. We reincarnate to be here and, like, get this planet straight. Like, it had to go through a dark period that went on forever. Oh my God, so long. Like, eons? Really? Millions of years? Hundreds of thousands of years? Whatever it is, with oases of, prosperity and good times for everyone, until the stinky element of the smaller group of people that are winning and have been winning for so long, because we have agreed to prioritize the wrong things. Like, capitalism. Ugh. Bad. Like, it doesn't have to be, but to make more money, it's gotta be bad. So that's like our deal here. Like, we are the capitalists of the United States of capitalism. And I think it's gross. I mean, there's better ways to do the same kind of thing. We're just choosing not to. And at the cost of who cares as long as we get our money. So that stinks. And that happens in a lot of those ways that are underhanded and behind the scenes and just ugly, filthy, like bad, tons of adjectives for bad. Name them, have them all. And that is all very complicated, very convoluted, and things hiding things, hiding things, hiding things. It's ridiculous, in my opinion. So, keep it simple. That's what I say. Like, if it's so bad you gotta hide it, maybe you shouldn't do it. You know, if you gotta do it and it's messing up people, and it's messing up the climate, and it's messing up the land that we live on and we grow our food on and so on, maybe we don't do that. Like, we can find other ways. Because not everybody cares about those profits. And if we did, if we all cared about it, we'd probably do it better. We'd probably take better care of the way we were conducting business. But, to conclude, before I get to my cards, I feel like the message of simplicity that has just been so attractive to me for so long and kind of confusing, like, why? Why am I this way? Things eventually come together and make sense. So I don't know the entirety of what I was saying. Like, I don't know how things are going to completely pan out for the better. I'm not worried about that. But I almost lost my point. You know, we have that birth contract thing, so we knew the job was dangerous when we took it. We just didn't understand how much, so anyway, so I was thinking about simplicity and kind of living with it, or living in it, when I pulled these cards, so let's see what it says. They're from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. And the first card is Root Girl, number 46. So that breaks down to 10, adds up to 10, I should say. And it's, as you can see, some sort of conflagration going on there. And it is a tree, which I guess the Root Girl connects with. Actually, you know what it looks like? Is one of those hay things. Not a square bale or a roll, but like the stacks. Maybe they're not stacks. I think maybe they're wheat. I think that's like something they do in Britain. Although, I don't know. I'm just going on impressions here, but man, my throat. The subtitle is The Disowned Self. So in there, I see a figure like seated, glowing eyes, two glowing eyes right there, and feathers. It looks like a headdress sort of, and like a smaller person too. It looks like. And I seem to see a book open in their lap. It's a book of, well, I mean, not a journal, but a tally, like a ledger. And it's going over, I guess, their own past. They're going over their own past, and they're like, okay, I gotta take account of my life because something is no longer serving me. My life is blowing up. So the disowned self, I think, is the self that got you into this mess, and this is the start of you making your way out of, I mean, a conflagration, I guess, like, something in the life is blowing up. So the next card is the number 8 card, and it's Crown Games. So I feel like this is the next step of, like, this person saying, what I'm doing is no longer serving me, and it's just blowing up, and I need to, this me is no good anymore. Like, I gotta reset, recalibrate myself. So, Crown Games is this card, and as you can see, the figure seems to be holding their own head. Holding it down almost as if it might float away, because look at how the hands are laced together, the fingers are laced. The subtitle is Right Use of Power. So this is the renewed self, coming back to who they know they are, where they're not doing things that blow up their life. They're not, like, succumbing to vices and living fast and foolishly. They are, Root Girl is becoming the queen that she always was inside. And so, going forward, she's going to live better and make life better for those around her, like a benevolent queen. That doesn't sound that simple, although queens have been known to come in and clean up messes. Complications get messy, so honesty and authenticity, reverse that process. They will come in and clean the mess and bring clarity. And the next card is a tidy house. It's the number 1 card. And the subtitle is Clarity and Organization, that I was just talking about. And so, there's 3 dwellings on here. And I always feel like there's stages of life. And here you see it's gotten real complicated and kind of doesn't make sense anymore. Like, one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing. And this is a state of stability for sure. But, it has the one lit window and then no other windows. And it's like, maybe a period, like, between here and here, where you're just sort of in a meditative state. And you're blocking out all but the light. And, like, I feel like that's the way that we come to ourselves. Like, literally, if we're meditating, we will sort of tune out all the external, extraneous noises and things that you also know, of course, they're there no matter what you do. But, like with the pain, you place yourself somewhere else. Like, you find another opening, another space inside yourself, away from everything else, where you can make sense of things, simplify things, and you don't have, like, overthinking, and you don't have sort of this is like as simple as you can get, but I feel like it's so connected to nature, you're almost at the whims of it. Like going from a city to living in a forest and then trying to build your own home by hand, and you don't really know what you're doing. So you're just kind of like, making use of the natural terrain, but, that goes through seasons. Like maybe the foliage was doing something for your sort of slapped together dwelling, but fall happens and then all of the leaves are gone, so you're just left with sticks. Which you can do something with if you know how. But it could get messy, like, and you could even slap something together, So, yeah, I don't know, it's like it's 3 states of mind, I guess. And the thing about this one, this is what I gravitate to more, because it's simpler. Like, even if, you're home for some reason until you figure it out, like, that's not the way. If it depends on what the seasons are doing, you're getting an education from that, because you're learning, like, okay, well, this is what I did last time, and it was not sufficient against the weather, so, if you make it through to the next set of seasons, you have plenty of time then to think about what you will do the next time the winter comes around and everything changes on you. I no longer know where I'm going with this. I just saw a ladder for the first time on here. Oh my gosh, wow. Okay, let me show you if you haven't seen it. So there's a ladder going from the ground up to what I was thinking of as like the sort of place of contemplation, like in your mind. And it's funny because the ladder is like right outside the door on the ground to here, to the place that I would call home. But I wouldn't be in there like, I mean, I've even learned, or I don't know what I've learned, but I've certainly watched like fieldcraft videos of how to build a house, out of what's there in the woods. And even though it was like hard work and time consuming, those videos I watched, those people always had somewhere else to go home to that did have all the modern conveniences. I just found it so interesting to sit there and watch this person pull all this information from themselves and build these fantastic log cabins, for sure. And various people in various places, like wooded forests with pine trees and tropical forests, and you just pick up all kinds of little things, and that's kind of like how life is. You just collect all these, you think, disparate pieces of information, and then later on things come together and make sense. And what you don't know in the beginning is that what it's going to take is time and age and like experience. Is like, that's what the time is for, so you can have the experiences that you learn from. And yeah. Anyway, so the next one is number 54, Vanishing Mirror. So ugly, you broke the glass. Old joke. So, the subtitle is Ego Sublimation. And, well, speaking of simple, if your ego gets involved in something, things are no longer simple. Things have definitely gotten clogged up. And, one thing about that guy in the movie, he didn't, bother with ego. Not that he was subservient or small or anything. He was just very matter of fact. And he didn't, get into it with anybody either, I was so impressed. By the way, that character carried himself in the face of what has, just made other people fall to pieces and not be able to function. And what he didn't have that did not hold him back was a giant ego. And think about that. I feel like it's easier to submit to what the ego wants you to do less than it is to give into it, because then you find yourself having to accept all kinds of things or agree to all kinds of things that maybe you don't really do want or agree to, because it's the consensus and it's just easier to help things keep moving along. And that is not something that someone with a huge ego does. They have to worry about how everybody's looking at you and what everybody's thinking. And then, if you're super crazy, you gotta be a control freak ego too. And, control what everybody else is thinking about and doing. That is a lot of work and complicated. It is not simple. And so, it's just my opinion to just see how much work all of that is, to be so wrapped up in yourself, so worried, it's just for me, it's too much. They would make my head explode like that mirror. I don't want to be bothered with all of that. It's complicated. And so, here we go with ego again. Isn't that funny? And I don't know why I said that about this card, which is the number 45 card, repairing the veil. I'm not sure really what to do with this anymore, because I had one interpretation of it, and then I learned something else that made a lot of sense, which was the veil, instead of being all of these metaphors that I dreamed up trying to understand it, still applies in all of the places, but I just see it as from a different perspective, and that is that it is and always was between, you and some piece of information. But I never thought of it as being in my mind, just not knowing something, being ignorant of something, and the veil being literally that, energy of you not knowing. You just don't know. I never thought of it that way, but I think it's a lot the way it is. And so, when I look at this, I'm like, why would you want to repair it? You want to, close off yourself from information? I guess sometimes you do. So, the subtitle on this one is Forgiveness. Well, in light of what I just said, maybe you do want to put the veil up, because in order to forgive someone, you have to be able to get over whatever it was that tore your veil open, the event that you became aware of, that it was, I'm going to say it was traumatic enough to tear the veil open. There's ways of learning that probably don't rip and tear you like that. So, I'm just going to go with some piece of information that was sort of, percussive enough to tear the veil. But it could be repaired because perhaps you sublimated your ego in order to repair the veil. and forgive the person or event that caused the tear, that would be a reason to repair it. I guess I can accept that. So the last card I have is number 51, and it's Stars in the Sky. And the subtitle is limitless possibility. And the person here is sitting on a bridge, and they're meditating. And they're luminous, which to me means they're like very tuned in on their meditation. And I feel like this is the person at the end of the story from the beginning who went through all of the things and now are fully reset and renew and ready for whatever comes. And excuse me. They just have, they're free of encumbrances. You see, they don't have anything around them. They're not holding anything. And you kind of, it is like simplicity embodied when you have everything you need and you can carry it on your person. And so then the possibilities are limitless because you don't have a bunch of dang it, attachments stuck to you. You're not dragging baggage around. And really, the fewer possessions you have and dependence that you have, like things that you have to maintain, sort of like the ego thing that I was talking about. But, you know, this is, I'm talking about different things. Although this past thing, like, once you've repaired the veil, you kind of were able to let go of that and let it go. Like, just more, you always have, I think, something that's not serving you that you end up with, that you pick up, or that gets attached to you that you don't realize, you know, is on you. So it's like a constant reviewing that you have to do. And I guess that's what, like, daily meditation is for. Multiple times daily, if you're me. Because it's nice. Feels good. Helps you, like, get through the day. So yeah. I think I'm done. We all go through, like, a bunch of stuff routinely all the time. It just, I was, I guess, coming to this realization anyway, because I sort of live my life that way also. But that movie really kind of brought it home, or helped me firm up what I was thinking about, and that was that, God, everybody's life would be so much better if things were just simpler. So simplicity, I don't know, think about it. I have been.